What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a great Friday. Let's get into it right away. We got an interesting slate. Sorry to have the side view because I'm trying to go back and forth between my two computers here. Really quickly, I want to make a really quick golf point. Keep an eye on the weather tomorrow, but if you're playing showdowns, play the morning guys. At least in four out of your guys in your lineup should be in the morning, in my opinion. The wind should pick up in the afternoon, and it's just we see how this course is when it dries out enough alone, not to mention when the wind's going. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It's hard to know exactly how you're doing in golf. I know our boy Kenny is crushing it, which is great. A lot of incredible picks, but this is a high variance tournament, and there's going to be a lot of people going forward and backwards for the rest of it. You're going to have some crazy holes. Anyway, but keep in mind that you kind of want the guys who go for it more often, but you want the morning guys. That's what I would say. Let's talk about tonight's NBA slate. There's a lot to do. However you guys want me to break it down, I can, because I'm still waiting on information, but my core really hasn't changed much if you watch my 5 and 5, because we haven't gotten any news that has suggested that it should change. Malachi Flynn is a tough fade if you want to try to make that play on DraftKings. You could use last night as an argument why to do it. I think in the long run, you're probably not being profitable if you don't play him in a majority of your lineups. I think Malik Beasley is much more high variance, but I think the field knows that. So I think that he is going to be more in between, although you could easily just start your lineups with those two and you're fine. That's a cash game strategy that I would employ for tournaments. If you want to get away from it, maybe you play one in one lineup, one in the other. If you don't play Beasley in the lineup, try to play Beverly, stuff like that, just to try to make it like so you're getting exposure of how the guys can't get there. And that would be it. D'Angelo Russell would be another guy on the higher end. Cat. Beasley doesn't have to get hot. He doesn't have to make shots, and we've seen that he doesn't have to be productive when he doesn't. He made 6 threes in the last game. Let's not go crazy and assume that he's going to make 6 out of 9 threes again. It absolutely could happen. He might put up a number you absolutely need. But if you really think he's going to be 30-ish% owned, I would say try to play him at 50%. If you think he's going to be 50+% owned, I would say play him at 25. It just goes into good game theory strategy. The priorities are the same like that. I think the guys who are getting overlooked, as I mentioned earlier, and again, please fire in all the questions, all the thoughts, all the people who are, whatever. We still don't know about Thad Young, which I think is actually relevant because you could make a strong argument for Precious or Boucher if Thad Young is out and he's not. We don't have that information yet. And you could probably even argue a little bit for Birch as well. Those minutes are going to have to go somewhere, especially against a big team, and we need to know about Wendell Carter as well. So the main thing I'm going to say is that, until we know that, it's pretty big news. The first games are kind of meh for me. I will have a little bit of KCP on FanDuel. I don't mind if you want to play Kispert, Gafford, or Thomas Bryant or Kuzma. I'm just probably not going to, in all honesty. Cade Cunningham, we have a real question on his wrist. If he's out, that opens things up, and we have to revisit that conversation based on starting lineups, which is the first game, so we should know. But I'll be in Discord probably by the time that part comes along. We don't have sheets today, so I'm going to be rolling with you guys for as long as we keep this going. But I actually am going to probably not close the show on this. I think I need to just finish my lineups. It didn't work badly yesterday. Like I said, if you're going to play the weird Holmes play, find the pivots that you have in your later lineups. Got me onto more Reggie Jackson, which was, of course, good. It got me onto some other things that I maybe shouldn't have been as high on. Sort of not remembering all of them right now, but mistakes were made, but good plays were made too. So there was a lot there. The Cade play was the bomb. Cade, if he does play, is an awesome play, by the way, for tournaments. He is the one Detroit guy, if everybody's in, that I'm into. On the Indiana side, it would be nice to know about Chris Duarte. If he's out, I think you can go right back to Brogdon. You can go to Brogdon anyway. The problem is he's getting the ownership and the love, and I think it's probably where it should have been before last slate at his prices, and now getting raised prices on both sides. It just feels a little bit fishy. And this time of year, we're going to see some lineup changes. You're going to see guys resting in certain spots. You're going to see good teams resting. Just every minute you buy is always going to be more positive EV. Oh, look, we just got Thad Young is in. So I got that through. But it's basically the same things. The guys who are going to be maybe a little bit overlooked from the high end, I still think that Jokic ends up really on the lower end side of things. And I think that both Harden and Embiid are going to be very low owned. Giannis will be mid-ish owned, but I prefer him on FanDuel. All this value is going to give you the idea to play these guys. I'm still going to suggest that we go back to playing like a Shea Cat kind of a thing. And I'm not saying these guys are going to be unknown either, but just because we have the extra money, you're getting guys a couple thousand less who could actually put up the same scores. And it's just hard for me not to have some interest in that. And I think that's sort of the way I'm approaching the slate a little bit more than maybe some others are. That and my other differentiator is to play, like I said, play some Jokic because he'll be the lower owned of the bunch other than the Philly guys, who I like both of them, more on FanDuel. Again, but though on DraftKings and FanDuel, I'm just going to go out on this limb and say everyone from Phoenix, with the exception of Landry Shamet, is being way underowned and wrongly projected. Cam Johnson at 26 minutes. If you want to bet something for real, like you think this game stays anywhere reasonably close, Cam Johnson might play like 36 minutes. I don't know where this projection is coming from. He played 24 in a game where they won by 30 because they were winning by 30. You didn't need Cam Johnson. You didn't need any of these guys. That's not going to happen against the Knicks, in my opinion. I don't expect the Knicks to walk in there. Again, I like this Knicks plus 6.5. But I really think you want to mix in Bridges, Crowder, Holiday. You obviously Payne is the obvious one, and Ayton. Ayton and Shamet are getting all the love, but I love these other guys in some ways, and you could argue even better. Like Mikal Bridges on FanDuel is where they're going to play him, but you could play him at 6,200 on DraftKings. Why is that a problem? I don't understand that Cam Johnson not starting the other night somehow has people off of him. Just play yourself. If you're playing a bunch of lineups, I'm going to have like 35, maybe even higher percent of Cam Johnson and Jay Crowder combined. I'll probably have like 70% of them or 65. I just don't understand this. This is just, to me, a glitch. People don't know what to expect, and they're sort of like hedging. Like this game, if it doesn't get out of hand, at least one, probably two of those guys goes 6 to 7x at a reasonable salary. Now, maybe you could even argue there's higher upside even for them. Cam Payne, Shamet, and Ayton are the way it doesn't happen, but it could happen alongside them. So I like getting little pieces of that game stack. My three favorite game stacks on the slate are Minnesota, OKC, Orlando, Toronto, and Phoenix, New York. But again, we need to hear about Wendell Carter before we decide anything with Orlando, because if he is out, then it really opens up. But without Fultz, it already is opening up back to where these guys are kind of in play, and I like the run back because I want to play some Toronto guys. All right, let's get into it. Let's get all the questions of the baseball. I can't right now. It's been a long week as it is. I hope it happens. I don't want to get into whether it's right and these guys are this and this. It's just very, very frustrating. I really hope we get baseball. Guys, we need to hit the like button. Hit the like button. Thanks to Rody in chat for dropping that in there. I just went through my sort of main plays. I guess I'll just talk real quickly on FanDuel. Beverly stands out even a little bit more. Cole Anthony is a different price. I like him over there. Brogdon's a little bit more, makes more sense. People aren't going to play as much Poku, so I'll play Poku over there. I like Harden and Embiid's pricing over there a little bit better. And again, I love Bridges' price. He's going to be popular over there. But Crowder and Cam Johnson will not be. And I think you want to get some exposure to all those guys. Siakam's price over there stands out. Alec Burks' price over there stands out. Pretty much all the other plays go along with everything I've said, with the exception maybe KCP also, because in this type of environment, like you could have a 4 or 5 stock game from KCP, and then he just has his usual role. And then next thing you know, he's got 35 fantasy points, and you're feeling great about the 4,400 KCP play. But again, it's not like my favorite play in the world. It's just those are the guys who stand out to me more on FanDuel. Thad in makes everybody in the front court for Toronto a little less interesting. I think Thad is probably the best of the options, but it is really close between those guys, and I don't really think I need to speculate that far because of the other value we have on this slate. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to take a quick look and see. Duarte is out. That is interesting. I kind of thought, I was kind of going back and forth on today whether I thought that was going to happen. I just think Buddy Hield is a really good tournament play, and I think Brogdon is unfortunately a really good tournament play that looks like a cash game play at his ownership, but I think they're both really good plays. I guess if you wanted to be a little bit off the board with something you could do, you could take Jalen Smith or Brogdon, depending on who starts. I'm sorry, Jalen Smith or Halliburton. Obviously, Halliburton will start, but that's the only thing I can think of creatively to maybe do profitably with that situation. I don't know that it's all that meaningful, except for that it makes Heald. I think Heald is look, Heald and Brogdon, they're projected 2 fantasy points different. They're 0.2 different on DraftKings, and I have their ownership at Heald at 5%, and I have Brogdon at 20. I'm not saying those are going to be accurate, but that's what I've got right now. Heald has a massive upside because when you're going to play 35, 40 minutes, you can put up 50 fantasy points because you can make 6, 7 threes. He hasn't been bad shooting. He's been solid. Hasn't gotten quite as many shots up as maybe you'd want, but they're still all, look, 17, 13, 15, 21, 12, 20, 19, 17. Those are all pretty good. Pretty good makes you feel good about 40 with upside of 50. And you know what? One of these days he'll score 40 real life points and hit 8 threes. Maybe this is the day. Maybe it's not. I think he's a phenomenal tournament play. But that's sort of, I guess, all of that really, the information really does for me. FD, you have 3 wraps, no run back. Is that okay? So I would say that's not optimal because I would like there are legitimately, especially if we don't know. We don't know who's playing yet for Orlando. So that's a really big thing to figure out. But if Wendell Carter is out, Mo Bamba is a good run back. A good run back would be Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. Cole Anthony on FanDuel is so well priced. He's a good play anyway at 5,700. You're gonna get high variations from him. You're gonna get 20 fantasy point games and you're gonna get like 50 fantasy point games. Exactly the kind of guy I like to bet on. If Wendell Carter's out, you've got Okiki who's gonna be coming to play. All of that team is gonna be much more appealing. And by the way, you might even be able to make a weird reach on a guy like RJ Hampton if there was no Carter. Maybe he gets the extra run, but I think that's more of like a long shot 150 entry kind of a play than it is a good play. And I think that it's more on DraftKings than it is FanDuel. All right, let's see what else we got. Kem Birch revenge game. LOL. We've had a few of these, right? We've had a few of the Kem Birch revenges in different things. Sure. I'm in. I would like it better if it was in Orlando. Again, I on the revenge narrative that I'm going with tonight. I am very, very, very high on Bobby Portis. For one, I like the situation as it is anyway. I like the matchup. I like everything about it. And we've seen Bobby Portis when he was doing nothing, he had I think he had 60 in a game against these guys last year when he was like a 4K guy. Off the bench. I don't know, maybe it was 50 something. I just think that's a really, really good way to try to utilize a narrative. Milwaukee's so good. If anybody was out, it would be really easy to love Portis, but I like him and I'm going to go with playing him more than not. Burks or KCP? The answer is Burks for me. But it's close. So I actually have the 2 of them together in a couple lineups on FanDuel, but I think it's really close between those 2. KCP always has the wide variations. A fast, up-paced team that gives up threes and turns the ball over is the kind of spot where you could see KCP benefiting. With Burks, you're getting the usage, you're getting the play in what could be a very close game, and I think that's a good run back for my son. So that's sort of where my decision-making came to rest. Guys, pop in every question. Isaiah Roby, Reggie Roby, old football. Yeah, that's a really good tournament play. I think that we talk about this a lot with OKC, assuming they play the same rotation that they did the other night. I think you could argue for every one of these guys. Sheets would say Olivier Sarr. Some people would say Maladon. Some people would say, hey, maybe you could play that, I don't know, Lindy Waters or Krejci. I think all those guys are even actually legitimately in play. But Roby is going to be a little bit higher owned tonight. I think the role still is somewhat, in need for definition. Like they did play well and they won. And obviously the players try to win and the coach is trying to win. For the most part, the team is really not. We've seen some weird substitutions from them when they've been up in games. I think it's a solid play. I would try to keep my exposures separate on my OKC guys. I like that game. And I think there's an argument for just full going for the stack and making it Shea with some of these guys. I think for Shea to hit the ceiling I want, I'm probably, the way that my lineups are working, I'm going to divide up he and Poku and he and Trey Mann. I don't mind, though, if you want to just hammer and Roby to some extent. 2 of them make sense. 3 of them is a little hard to get to. And Bazley, by the way, belongs in the conversation at least, even though I don't particularly want him. And again, and some of it might come down to like if we hear that that Vanderbilt is out for with his shoulder, I don't think he will be, but if he's out for Minnesota, just makes this game more and more stackable. So I'm not really going to hate anything from that game, including I love the Roby play. Just again, we're getting more like cash game ownership. What I would say about Roby is a little bit what I said about Poku the other night, that people all are going to play him on DraftKings and no one will play him at 6.5. Now, I am probably going to be a part of that no one at 6.5. But if he really gets there, he really gets there. And 6.5, he gets 40 fantasy points at 1% versus he gets 30 fantasy points at 15%. You can understand, you know what I mean? Those are both ranges of outcomes, but he can put up that kind of a number to where that number on FanDuel is a great number. A little too hard for me to get there with Flynn, but I even would understand that one too in a similar type of, you're so much higher priced on one side. Everybody's going to play you on one side and not on the other. I like those plays. It worked the other night with Poku and Brogdon. If you went Poku on FanDuel and Brogdon on DraftKings, you were playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. All right, let's see if there's any questions popping up in here. Jalen Green or Herbert Jones. So there are two names that I did not have in one single lineup tonight. I love Herb Jones as a real life basketball player. I haven't found myself stuck in that price tier. I think he's completely fine. I have no particular reason to play him tonight. Jalen Green is the answer for me. You're going to need things to break your direction probably, but the guy has a ceiling and he's not even like fully going crazy hitting it. He's just been good. But remember, Eric Gordon didn't play in 2 of these games. Kevin Porter didn't play in 3 of them. Just keep that in mind. And all of these guys are supposed to play tonight, which also would make Garrison Matthews a lot less interesting. So I get it. I actually think Eric Gordon's a really clever play, but I get the argument for anyone on Houston as a run back with Jokic. I just don't really like any of them that much. Unless we hear somebody's out, of course, in which case I'm more than happy to pounce on everyone available. I know there's no Schroeder, so I am aware about that. But remember, we've seen this team without Schroeder all season long. Carter is out. Okay, let's refine everything. Let's think for a second. What are we going to do about him being out? What are we going to do? All the guys I mentioned are really good plays on DraftKings, especially Carter. I'm sorry, Bamba, Suggs, and Wagner and Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony is a great play on FanDuel already, so he's going to be even a better play. Wow, this is an interesting one. Okeke is the real decision point, isn't it? I think he's going to be a really good play, but there's a lot of really good plays on this slate. So I don't know how else to say it other than this. Okeke's rebounding is nowhere near what Carter's is. A huge bump up for Bamba in that sense. The guy's got a ceiling. He can shoot it too. I like him as a player. So ranking them on DraftKings, I guess it's on DraftKings, Suggs, Bamba, Wagner, Anthony, Okeke. Maybe you could argue for Okeke being third on that list. On FanDuel, it goes more Anthony, Suggs, Bamba. Anthony, Bamba, Suggs, something like that. It's a really, really big piece of information, and I think we want to get exposure to that game. This is a weird spot, guys. Really like Mo Bamba. Again, could get in foul trouble right away and just be played out off the court with all that stuff. Kind of think Kem Birch is a little interesting too. His old team, assuming that he starts, played against these guys before. Maybe they do better with him, and that gives Boucher, Precious, and Thad less minutes. I don't know. It feels a little reachy. I don't know. This is that's a little wrench that I sort of didn't know what to expect. That was another one that I was sort of in between on. Herder, after all this stuff, like I don't know. We had John Collins back. We have Herder, who's been priced this price basically forever. So he's going to lose minutes. He hasn't gotten there once, except last time he got there was February 11th when he that was no Trey game, I believe, and no Bogdanovich possibly. I don't remember exactly who was playing, but certainly we had at least two of these guys out that were in. So look, it might work out for Herder anytime, but I would actually go out and characterize that as a pretty bad play. I think that would be really, you're just asking for something. You're just hoping for something. This is the healthiest they've been. This is the least viable he's been. So if you've been playing Herder every day, yeah, maybe you play Herder one more day. There's no logical reason I can explain why it would work. Maybe he makes some threes. There's literally nothing good about that play. It doesn't matter. It's basketball. There's variance, but like that's not a good play. It's a worse play than it's been any day, and he's been unowned every day, and we now have 2 extra bodies being back. But I don't know. I if it works, it works. Great. No real argument for why this should benefit him in any way. Absolutely. So D'Angelo Russell, I do think is a on the poorer side of if I want to build a championship team kind of a basketball player. If he's your 5th best player, you could probably get away with it. He's gotten better. I'll give him that. His defense is not, he's terrible still, but he's better than he was. And he's definitely worth a look tonight. I'm very into both he and Cat. And even as I've insulted him as a basketball player many times, I've also complimented him for the DFS abilities. I'm very high on him sometimes. But not a guy you're going to win in titles with, of course, especially not if he's the main ball handler. I think he's at best should be he can do a few interesting things and is just a very overrated, probably the worst all-star to ever play in an all-star game. Thoughts on Detroit guys, Cade and Grant. They're everybody on Detroit is it's the same always. They're all fine, which makes me, if I'm going to play any of them, I'm going to play Cade. If that's a FanDuel specific question, let me know. But I will always just say play the guy with the most upside, who's the best player, who's the future. I think there's a chance Cade doesn't play tonight. So that's a big deal. Hit the like button, as Rody says in there, and then keep firing in questions because I'm probably going to be out of here anytime we go through a 2-minute stretch without questions up till 6:20, because I like the back and forth. Cade can really play. He's a future All-NBA guy. I still think they're going to regret because assuming that everything goes the way I think it will, Evan Mobley was a generational talent in the mold of a Tim Duncan combined with Kevin Garnett. Maybe not quite as athletic as Garnett, maybe not quite as skilled as Duncan, but somewhere in between, all you have is a guy who's going to be in an all-NBA team the rest of his life, and he's freaking 20 years old. All right, Gobert, always a good tournament play, never gets the ownership. I don't like the matchup, especially for him. Like, you have 2 of the best rebounders in the NBA, but the pace, everything that goes with it, absolutely Gobert. Very, very strong tournament play. I'm not, in all honesty, using him just because I like my builds better, but I completely support it. And I'm not playing as many lineups on Fridays lately. I used to play a million on Fridays. Now it's like I have a little bit of a social life sometimes, so that's what I do. Cade likely to play. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So if Cade plays, I think he's a really strong tournament play. As I said last night, he fit the run back mold a little better last night because you wanted to play some of the Raptors, although it's sort of divided up in a very strange direction for that team. So hopefully if you did play Raptors, it was Scotty Barnes and Precious. And if you did that with Cade, you were in business. But unfortunately, that's not what I did. All right, keep firing in the questions. Keep firing in any thoughts, anything I haven't touched on. I'll go through some ownerships of guys and just say, hey, if I'm playing 150, do I want to be above or below? Malachi Flynn, at 50%, I think you could look at arguing that you should play 75% of them. If you think he's going to be 75%, I think you should argue that playing 50 of them. That's basically it's a high variance game. You're trying to get edge everywhere you can. That's my approach to that. But in general, probably on DraftKings ahead of the field at 50%. Malik Beasley at 35% is a very tough thing. People like to jam an extra value. I get the feeling he's going to be a lot higher owned in the big buy-ins. The weird part is the bus path is so clear for him that maybe he's a guy you could treat, hey, maybe I'll play him on FanDuel at like 15% and maybe I'll skip him on DraftKings. That's something you could do. I mean, people who don't play that much may not realize like he's not supposed to start. If he starts, then yeah, play him. But also he's going to lose some of the usage. But at the same time, like I wonder if when the actual starting lineup comes out, people panic to something else. Anyway, just a food for thought type of item. Especially we don't know what's going to happen with the big fella yet. We don't have any word on Vanderbilt. Other guys that are high owned, Gary Trent, 30% owned. I will be well below that. I like Gary Trent tonight. I just cannot high variance shooters and 30% he'll probably be higher. He was 4 for 23 and still put up 27 fantasy points in the last game. I think he's more likely getting 40 than he is anything else, but I have other guys I like, and I think the idea of fading him at crazy high ownership is a really good idea. So I will probably be more in the 10 to 15% Gary Trent range. Campaign, I will be well over the field if the field is really 30%. Scotty Barnes, I'll be over the 30%. Landry Shamet, 25% feels a little too high. I'll probably be somewhere on the lower end of that. And what I sometimes do is I'll pair all of these values together and then build my favorite lineup around it. So that's the way I would treat the Shamet situation. I'll be above the 23% on Ayton. I'll be above the 23% on Shea. I'll be above the 22% on Cat. I'm oddly not playing that many lineups on DraftKings. I love Siakam, but I just have so much of my exposure on FanDuel. I know he's more popular there and all that stuff. I just love him on both sites, but again, probably going to end up sadly being under the field on DraftKings or near the field, be under the field on Drew Holiday on DraftKings. Patrick Beverley, I love, but I'm probably going to get more of my exposure to him because the turnovers, et cetera, and the price on FanDuel. So I'll probably below FanDuel ownership, higher on below DraftKings ownership, higher on FanDuel. I'll be below RJ Barrett on DraftKings and well above on FanDuel. I think that this is another one of those spots where he's only a $300 price difference, which really doesn't mean anything. And his ownership is supposed to be like 2.5 times on DraftKings what it will be on FanDuel. It's a great spot to play a guy on FanDuel where you're getting the lower ownership. So just sort of siding that way. You know what I mean? If I was just playing one lineup on DraftKings or one stack of that game or three lineups, and maybe then I would have him more. But I like the idea of getting the leverage where I can. So that's the way I'm choosing to approach it. Daniel Gafford, I'm still flirting with whether or not I want any piece of him at all. I think the right move is if you're going to make that extra value move, you could do the Shamet thing. That doesn't feel great. Maybe you could do Thomas Bryant. Maybe that's the thing to do. Maybe play Thomas Bryant off the bench at no ownership, who outscored Gafford in the last game and will probably do it about a third of the time. And you're getting no ownership versus chalk. Both could have good games, but if they're close, you also get a little bit of a discount on top of it with the situation with Washington with Bryant, and you never know which way who's going to play more minutes. So, but or you could just go over to Roby, which is probably the more logical thing to do if you have the money to do it. I like Poku. I'll be over on that one. I'll be under on Vanderbilt, whether he plays or not on DraftKings. Like him on FanDuel better, but probably going to be underweight over there as well. Trey Mann, I like quite a bit, so I'll be overweight on him. I'll be overweight on Jokic. I'll be underweight on Maladon. I'll be probably in the 10%-ish range on Jalen Smith, which is about what he's projected. I'll probably be in the 10%-ish range on Porter if I end up getting to him. And I'll be well above on Bobby Portis. Those are the double-digit guys I've got projected right now on DraftKings. Those are my thoughts. RJ Barrett, look, Sensei Jay and I always in sync. By the time I look back at the questions, it's already one I just answered. So hopefully you heard what I just said about RJ Barrett in tournaments. I like he and Randall quite a bit. I think that it just makes sense for me the way I'm building. So that is absolutely not only viable, but like a good idea in my opinion. Let's see. Any JaVale McGee? I don't know, man. If you're going to play JaVale McGee, then just go ahead and play Thomas Bryant. Like JaVale McGee might play like 12 minutes tonight if the game is close. You know what I mean? It's not like he has to play any minutes. Now he's a better fantasy point producer than basically anybody on the planet, but like he hasn't played he played 18 minutes that one game, the blowout. Like even in a 40-point game, a 30, whatever, it was 40 at some point or near 40 in the fourth. He played 13 minutes. Like, I don't know. I don't think we need to do that. I always can get there, but it's randomness. Like if it's too big of a blowout, then Biyombo comes in like he did for 9 minutes in the last game. I just don't see where it's working out exactly to play him. Now, can he put up numbers? Yes. It's the worst possible matchup, so he sort of fits under the Kevin Huerter category in some ways. If you're going to do it, just do it every night, and that's your play. Like, that's just one thing you're going to roll with, sort of like I do with Patton Kizzire. A good job for the general. He make it through at 3 under. Just roll with it in a certain percent of your lineups, and that's what you're doing. There's no other reason to justify doing that. Bitadze means nothing. We had him projected out. Nobody, I don't think, thought he was playing today, as far as I know anyway. Let me just take a quick look and make sure I'm right on that. I didn't see any projections that had Bitadze playing any minutes. It was like that tentative, he might play 1 minute kind of a thing, or he might play nothing, but that's mostly because we thought he was out. So I'm not doing much for me. All right, guys, I think we're going to be out of here pretty. DeMarcus Cousins fits the same category as Sengun on the other side. I think Sengun is the better play. I think Cousins is a really good large field play. I think you could literally play a pairing of both of them at no ownership combined, that you're in freaking awesome shape if the game breaks exactly the way that you want it to break. And that's asking a lot, but you know what? That stuff happens, man. I don't know. It's definitely worth maybe taking a look at. I'll do it. I would do it in a large field. I'm not going to focus on it for regular tournaments at all. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you here. We're making big changes to the site. I'm glad you guys got in early, and it'll be easier to read you guys' names when there's hundreds of people in the chat room, but we're going to make things a lot easier. We have a deal finalized where we are going to be having an optimizer. We have our own optimizer, which actually is functional as it is, just sort of like a very layman's type of thing. It's early build, but we will be with one of the largest in the world very shortly. So wanted to clue you guys into that because that's going to be really exciting. Yes, I do like Randall on FanDuel as a run back. That's it. I think that we're pretty much done with that. Unless there's anything else, I'll give you guys 30 seconds to decide if you want me out of here now or in 2 minutes. Quiet. I mean, this is Sheets. Except for I'd be yelling at someone about dinner or something. All right, guys, you guys are awesome. Let's crush it tonight. Been a rough week. Let's try to end it strong. This is the way tournament DFS goes, especially for basketball. Actually, not always, especially for basketball. Baseball is the strongest variance, but basketball, there's crazy variance. So let's embrace it. Let's try to win tournaments, and let's try to not need to win every night. If you want to make a small profit every night, don't play cash. Don't play tournaments. Play cash games. And probably this is maybe not the perfect show for you. We want to win tournaments. All right, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. And hey, Kobe, I want to know real quick before I get out of here, man. I like this guy. He's got a lot of great takes. What do you LMA own? What is the funny thing that I missed? I'm giving him a few seconds before he answers because I'm pretty set on my builds with everything we talked about. Let me know, Kobe, one of these days in Discord or something like that. Oh, the Sheets joke. Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. If you've been with us enough, you've seen Sheets do some absolutely bizarre things, and the guy's awesome, but he goes to the beat of his own drum, as do I. So what do you say? That's pretty funny. All right, guys. Kobe Dunbar, Sensei J, Payton Way, Sam Stu, Project Mayhem, everybody else tuning in. Good luck tonight. Let's crush it. I'll be in Discord.